Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. I'm your host, Victor Rigoli, and I have a guest with me today, Kat Whitaker. Kat, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yeah, we met just a few weeks ago up in Macon at the Macon Arts Alliance, and I kind of crashed a little event that was going on, and we kind of struck up a conversation, and we were talking a little bit earlier, and I think we probably talked about 30 minutes and just found out we had so much in common, got to know your husband and everything. And it was kind of funny how I'd taken a picture of the cherry blossom tree and azaleas in your front yard. And it's like, oh my gosh, these are the people that live there in that house and everything. So yeah, it was kind of neat. But I'm excited to just kind of hear your story and just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, a little bit about how long you've been painting, what do you like to paint, those kind of things, and I'll ask some questions along the way as well. So just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, as far as my painting and my creative adventures, I probably got started with paintings like some watercolors back in like
Hmm.
2018, give or take. I was really into journaling, like bullet journaling and like art journaling. And doing that, I would take watercolors and just splash color all over the paper and journal on top of that.
Okay.
That prompted me to go buy a nice little watercolor set, and then more YouTube rabbit hole work later. I
Yeah,
started
yeah.
practicing doing some just like easy watercolor stuff, and then it just sort of spiraled into getting more interested in art in general. I've always kind of like drawing and just doodling and things like that. But
Right.
doing the watercolors and the bullet journals, that kind of really got me started with painting.
That's
And I've
interesting.
gone,
Yeah.
yeah, I've gone off and on with watercolors. And then maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, I started painting more with like gouache and acrylics and just kind of playing with some tutorials on YouTube and things like
Right.
that. And probably within the last year and a half, I've really kind of started to finally like pinpoint it down to I really enjoy doing like still lifes and
Hmm.
the sort of illustrate your day, draw your day type like sketchbook work
Hmm. Hmm.
because it's low stakes, it's easy. Like,
Right. Right.
there's not much pressure in that.
Right.
And just incorporating journaling and also some art journaling and using watercolors and doing that as well. So that's really where the actual art has kind of settled for right now.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. I like that. Yeah. I've got a niece that she's dabbling in some watercolor, and that's kind of a challenge for me. I want to kind of maybe down the road try watercolor because I do mostly with oils and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's interesting. I may have to pick your brain about that. So
Yeah, the watercolor seems like it'd be easy, but to me it's the hardest paint medium to really
yeah,
get it like
that's what I hear. Yeah.
yeah, to get it like right because you have to think ahead because you can't add the lights once you go darker, you can't go back and fix it. So
Right. And technically, there's no white watercolor color, right? I mean, it's the canvas or the paper that you're painting
yeah,
on that's your white. Yeah. So
yeah. So once
yeah,
you go
that would
on there with color, you're there.
you're there. That's right. No going back. Yeah. No wiping it off like with oil and starting over. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a challenge.
And I've
Yeah.
been
So
playing with oils probably within the last like 6 months or so, and
okay.
really enjoy the oils.
Yeah, that's what I use. I I've dabbled a little bit with acrylic, and I've tried some things with it. It just dries so fast for me, but I know
Yeah,
there's some things that you can add to it to delay the drying process. And I've experimented a little bit with gouache, and did some things last fall and Christmas. Christmas cards and gift tags and things like that. And that was a fun medium to work with. So yeah,
yeah.
that's
It
cool.
to me, it's to me it's a little bit harder, kind of like the watercolor, because you have to
Hmm.
get the consistency just right with it. Like I haven't had a whole lot of luck
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Um, so I think some of the pieces that you had down are up in Macon. were in acrylic. Is that true?
They were. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So you do some art and some paintings in acrylic, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was really working on a fall market like the end of last summer through the fall. And I did most of all that work in acrylic. So I probably spent about 6 months, and that's about all
Oh,
that I was
okay.
working on. And
Okay.
mostly still life
Right.
subjects and a little bit of abstract, just kind of playing and using
Right.
some collage and
Right.
stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I find that abstract mixed media stuff very challenging for me. And, I interviewed Chris Davenport just last week, and I've talked to other artists and, about just whatever you're feeling or thinking. And I told my wife, I said, I'm not that creative. I don't know if
Yeah,
I could do that, but, you know,
it's fun to just kind of let go a little bit, but then I'm
yeah,
so like, I want it to be just so, and I'm like, it needs to look like a thing, and then I end up getting too like tight with it.
right.
Then you lose the whole effect.
Yeah, that would, excuse me, that would be me, because I'm trying to loosen up on my brush strokes and everything. I'm not a photorealistic, very detailed, kind of person. I mean, there's some artists out there and it's like, that looks just like a photo. Now, I've had some
Exactly.
people tell me after looking at some of the stuff that I posted on Facebook, is I thought it was a photo at first. And this,
Your
I,
master's paintings look like a
uh-huh.
photo.
Really? Wow. Yeah. And, that those were the ones that people, commented on, and I thought,
Yeah,
well, I don't see that. It
yeah,
doesn't
they
look that
look
way to
real.
me. Yeah. So, but I'm trying to loosen up.
I did
So,
play with a little bit of kind of starting with collage and some abstract, just kind of like
mhm.
letting paint drip and putting paint
Yeah.
wherever, and
Yeah.
then using that as a background for still life,
Right.
and then kind of letting edges be a little bit blurry. I've tried that a couple times. I'd like to do some more of that because it
Yeah.
kind of blends, like it relaxes you and it takes you off that white canvas,
Right.
and it's a little more expressive. But I haven't done that much recently, but I do want to try that again.
Yeah. I don't know how much you've gotten into, painting with oils and that kind of thing. And I've been doing it for about 5 years. But one of the things I've been trying to do a little bit more of is toning the canvas before I paint, that it's just not
Mhm.
a solid white, canvas.
Yeah.
I have done an imprimatura layer using something like transparent red oxide and getting that in there and using a lot of odorless mineral spirits and thinning it out, maybe a little Galca to speed up the drying too, and just getting that on the canvas and just kind of, getting rid of the white canvas. And I
Yeah.
have watched some other artists and they will actually start working with their lights and darks, and they'll wipe away where they need to, is where the lights are going to be, and add more for
Yeah.
the dark and that kind of
I have
thing.
a
And it's
friend that's
interesting.
done that. She uses,
Hmm.
like, I think either raw umber, burnt umber, and
Right.
kinda
Right.
just
Hmm.
get a Q-tip and kind of
Yeah.
removing
Yeah.
some.
Yeah.
I'm
Eh,
fascinated by that. I
yeah,
keep
me.
asking questions about it, but I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it, and I've watched this one particular artist, and I think he starts that way with everything that he does. And he's a very good artist. And I got to looking at it, and I said, it's kind of like a blueprint to a certain degree. He's already
Yeah.
got shapes in, he's already got, his lights and darks and all that kind of stuff, and everything. And then, it'll dry in a couple, 3 days, and then he just starts applying the paint, and it goes. I think it goes a little bit faster. At least when I've done it, it's gone a little
Yeah.
faster. So there's a lot of, I guess you call it prep up front, but then it speeds up the actual painting process later
Yeah,
on.
'cause I think it's like you get your values right from the
Right.
beginning, and then all you have to
Exactly.
think about is getting your color the way you want it.
Right. Right. And sometimes I'll use an app on my phone. And I think I don't know if I got it on my laptop or not. It's a Notan app, and just getting different levels of darks and lights. Micah told me about that. I was taking a class with him a couple of years or so ago, and somebody brought it up, I think, and of course he has Apple and I have Android, so I was able to find something, that was comparable, but
So
sometimes
is
I'll
it
use that.
just in your values, just making sure you have good contrast? Is that what it's doing?
Yeah, what it does is it takes the photos, like if I use a lot of photo references, and so it
Mhm.
takes the photo and it says, okay, well, let's see, the different lights and darks that are in this particular photo. Because some people will go like three, levels, or they'll go four, or sometimes five,
Yeah.
so, a dark, a real light, and something in
Oh, it'll
between.
break it
And
down
it'll
to
do that for you for
okay.
all those objects. And, it's almost like you can turn it into a black and white, but it takes it one step
Okay,
further.
that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I usually just put
Yeah.
my camera on mono and then just kinda look
Hmm.
at it and make
Yeah.
sure that it
And this app takes it a little bit further. And another app I'll tell you about too, and I don't know if you're familiar with this. Do you have Apple or do you have Android or?
an apple, yeah.
Okay, Apple, and they probably have something like that. I got this app. I might have paid a couple bucks for it, but it's palette sampler or something like that. But anyway, you can take your photo and bring it up in the app, and you can tap on an area to get the color, and it will tell you what colors to use to mix to get that.
I have,
Like,
Procreate, like,
okay,
it's
it
that
probably
digital
does the same
art app,
thing.
and you can
Yeah,
put a picture in it and then just hold it and kinda see, like, the dark area, like, what's your base color,
right.
basically? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
Procreate
And
like that.
this one's pretty cool because it will say, "We'll take a little bit of ultramarine blue with
Oh,
lemon
it'll
yellow," and yeah, it
oh,
actually tells you the color to use.
okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. Um, I'll try to get you some information on that.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's something
Procreate just
you
kinda
could
shows
use.
you that color disc and, like, where it is, and but
Right.
you have to
Gotcha,
figure
gotcha.
out your
And
mixes yourself.
and I really love it. And the thing that's challenging too, and you may have experienced this, is that, okay, I've got a laptop, and then I got a monitor that I use, and I put my photo reference on that, and it's mounted on this kind of pole that I can adjust the monitor because it's right to the right of my easel, so I can
Mhm.
see it. But then I've got my phone, and all of them, the color is different, So, if I'm trying to match a color that's on my phone to what's on the monitor, it's lots of
Yeah.
times it's different, and so that can be challenging,
Yeah,
too, so,
I'm
yeah.
I'm not that I usually don't try to get the color.
Mhm.
I kind of want like, do I wanna go bright? Like, do I wanna be
Right,
brighter than like, and I'm also trying to get a little bit more into that, like, changing the original a little bit. I'm not necessarily trying to just nail that reference.
gotcha. I like
Kinda,
that, yeah,
like,
yeah,
putting in a brighter pink that's a muted pink and just seeing what it does.
right.
So,
It's your painting, and you can make the colors whatever you
yeah,
want, yeah, and, I have to constantly remind myself, and I've got at the bottom of that monitor, it says, "Don't paint to the photo." So it's like the colors, I mean, it's green, okay. Is
yeah,
it is it in harmony with the others? Yes. Is it the exact shade? No.
yeah.
But it fits in the painting, right?
Mhm.
So I like that, yeah, and so I appreciate you sharing that because that's kind of a challenge for me, so
And the whole idea that the color is relative to everything around it.
exactly,
Do you wanna
exactly.
be dull here to make the other thing stand out more?
Yeah,
And
and
sometimes
that's
in the photo, it doesn't stand out, but you can make it stand out.
exactly, and
Yeah,
we know that photos, seeing the photo, that you take yourself, whatever, or a photo reference and all, is not a true color as to what you see out in nature itself,
no.
Do you get out and do any plein air painting? Have you done
I
that?
I get out the only thing I've ever done out so far is the sketchbook type art.
Mhm.
Like, I haven't gotten out yet with the easel and an actual, the paints. But I have a small travel kit with, like,
Okay.
little watercolor pan sets and little pens, and, like, I'll go to the coffee shop and I'll do stuff at the coffee shop. I've done stuff outside. But,
Okay.
I have like, a portable palette easel
Right,
that I
right.
haven't taken
Okay.
out and used yet.
Cool.
But I really wanna
Um,
do that. The whole idea of painting with the oils or acrylics, either one outside, I'm like, "Oh, it seems like a lot."
uh, I've dabbled in it, to be honest. I took a workshop last year up in Eatonton, Georgia, and learned a lot. It's very. I'm out of my element because this is my element, my studio. Okay,
Yeah.
and then taking all that out into the field. Now I've got a cliched box or
Yeah.
plein air box. I got a tripod, all that kind of stuff. The
Yep.
paint, take the brushes, and it's all this setup. And then all of a sudden I think, oh gosh, I forgot whatever. But if I'm in my studio, oh, it's right over here. I
You've
just
got
go pick
all of
it
it.
up. Yeah, no problem. But I need to get out more. You mentioned at a cafe or coffee shop. What
Yeah.
coffee shop have you gone to?
All of them.
All of them? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do
I've
you
gotten,
paint? Do you paint the coffee shop, or you just in the coffee shop drinking a cup of coffee and painting?
yeah, like I'll just
Okay.
like usually I meet with a friend and we
Okay.
just sit and I'll just have my sketchbook open and I'll just sketch whatever looks interesting.
Gotcha.
Like, it
Gotcha.
might be my cup of coffee, it might be a trash can, it might be a kid sitting beside me, just kind of trying to like what's interesting. Just
Right.
pick it up and then
Yeah.
sometimes, do a little like actual journaling on the page and write,
Yeah.
or get the receipt and tape that to the page. It's not like art. Like I'm
Right.
not
Right. Right.
trying to be like too serious about it. Because the more
Right.
serious about it I get, freeze up and start judging it. But when I do it that way,
Yeah.
I have fun and I end
You're
up with pages I really like.
Yeah, you're more free,
Yeah.
relaxed, and yeah, I like that. And I think I noticed that you were doing like a painting a day, some kind of challenge,
Yeah.
45-day challenge or something like that. And I've seen
So
some of that, and I thought,
yeah.
oh gosh, I need to do stuff like that. So yeah, tell
I
me
have
about that.
done a lot of challenges right now. It's called the 100-day project.
Okay,
I've seen people posting those for years, and I think they do it randomly throughout the year. Like it's not always this time period. They just
right,
pick a date to start each
right.
year. But this year I just happened to catch it before it started, and I'm like, you know what? Why not? Because I did a Strata easel challenge. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of that.
So Strata easel, is like plein air facade box kind of setup. They do every January, and I think they do one in September. But it's 30 days. You post a painting a day from life, or it can be a drawing, but it has to be
Okay,
from life. It can't be from a photo reference.
okay.
So you post that every day. You tag them and you share it, and then at the end they draw like three people, and they win one of their really nice easel setups.
Oh
So
wow,
I did that in
wow.
January.
Oh cool.
And then the 100-day project, I think it started in February. Now I can't
Okay.
remember. But I was like, why not keep
Yeah,
going?
yeah, yeah. I've been reading a book by a guy named Ian Roberts, and he's got a lot of tutorials out there, and I follow him on YouTube, and he's been painting for years and years and years. And I bought his book off of Amazon. In fact, another artist I follow, Chris Fornatera, who I got his portrait painting tutorial, he referred to Ian Roberts, his composition book. And that's one thing that I kind of struggle with sometimes is getting that composition down. But one of the things that Ian said is to do a thumbnail sketch of something every day, to try to work on and hone those sketching skills and
Yeah,
everything, just see something and sketch it out. It might be a photo, it might be something that you want to paint, or it might be just sitting out on the patio drinking a cup of coffee and you see a bird or you see, a tree or
right.
something like that. And last week I was doing good, and then Easter came up. We went out of town, and so this week is, I fell off the wagon, I guess you say. So I got to get back to doing that. Just
Yeah,
little,
and
little sketches. Yeah,
that's where I feel like this having the sketchbook is helpful because I can just get so caught up on like this thing has to be perfect, like going
right,
for that finished product. And it's just a
right.
page. And I have to have two sketchbooks. I have to have like a serious, nice sketchbook
Okay,
where I want the art in it to be pretty. And then I have to have like a trash one, is what I kind
you
of call
doodle
it.
one. Yeah.
It
Hmm.
I mean, I can just sit and take notes, I can write wish lists. It's a mess, but
Right.
I do some of my favorite stuff in there because I'm
Oh,
not worried about it.
okay, okay.
But,
That's cool.
so the 100-day project,
Uh huh.
one thing about that, like you were saying, the composition, the project isn't supposed to necessarily be like a picture a day.
Okay.
That process is more like you pick your goal for the 100 days. Like, what do you want to learn more about? What do you want to practice? It could be, you could do a 100-day project and the end process be one painting.
Ah.
Because you could start with the thumbnails and you could do like the composition and work through, like you could just make it last the whole time. Or you could pick like, I listened to a podcast about it and she's like, somebody just did like drawing hands.
Mm-hmm.
Just draw hands, try to get better at drawing hands for 100
Right.
days.
Right.
Or, you could just do like, I want to get better at compositions for 100 days. So I like that because you're not necessarily, I am trying to do like something every day, but
Mm-hmm.
if like I can do, like I did a digital thing that I posted, it took me like 3 days to do it. So that
Okay.
counted for 3 of my days.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
Right.
you don't have to like
Yeah.
produce something new every day.
I
Just a
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. I may have to start something like that, because it's not okay. It could be because I've got all kinds of ideas for different projects, and paintings I want to do, but I could just really think about, okay, what is it with this particular painting I want to accomplish? So I'm going to take 100 days to work
Mhm.
on this, and I want to improve on A, B, or C or whatever. And
Or
hopefully
all of them.
or all of them, right. And by
Mhm.
the end, hopefully I can step back and look at that and say, yeah, I'm there, or no, I still got some work to do, but it was a
Yep.
good process to go through, kind of thing. So yeah. Yeah.
I do
So do
think
you
if I do the 100-day project next year, I'm gonna try not to do what I'm doing this time, where I'm like really trying to do it's a little something every day. I want
right,
to make it
right,
a more broad project.
right. I like both of those. I really do, so, um, do you have a certain process that you follow? Say you're working with acrylics and you're painting something. Is there a certain step by step kind of process that okay, I want to do the sketch first, and then I'm going to start getting shapes in, or I'm going to do whatever, and then you get down to the finished product?
So like you said, I usually like put some sort of underpainting down,
Hmm.
and I generally go with like a bright color
Okay.
underpainting, like a fluorescent pink or a teal blue or yellow or something like that. I haven't gotten as nitpicky as like I want a warm painting and picking a warm background yet. Really,
Gotcha.
just kind of just
Gotcha.
go with it.
Yeah.
So pick a background color, and then just like once I finally picked the subject, like for example, that roller skate that's
Mhm, mhm.
making art
There at
lines.
the gallery up there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
like I've taken a bunch of pictures of the roller skate. So that's usually I'm with you. I work off of photo reference
Gotcha.
generally.
Right.
So I took a bunch of pictures of the subject I want, find the composition I like, and kind of play with it in an app and go in and like dial up the contrast, brighten the colors, kind of make it the photo look better than real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And
Mhm, mhm,
use
mhm,
that. And I usually print it out. Like I print
mhm,
a
mhm.
photo out and I
Right.
also have it on my phone or on my iPad.
Okay.
And then just take watered down acrylic and kind of really loosely, like take a long brush and get out there, like
Right.
not super
Sketch
tight.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just get
just
it
sketch it
on there.
out and then
Mhm.
just kind of go
Go from there.
go from it. And then
Yeah.
just make
Okay.
corrections. Like if you
Yeah.
realize like that skate, like the wheels like funky looking, just go back in, fix it, and
Right.
go from there.
Right. Yeah. That's
And then
good.
of course figuring out when to stop.
Y Yeah, that can be a challenge for a lot of artists. Is it done? I
Yeah.
see that a lot. When do you call it done? Because we want, "Ooh, I need to fix this or fix that," and
Mhm.
I always it's good. Do you have, I don't know how artistic your husband is. I love meeting Chuck the other day and just talking with him and everything, and, I drove by your house, yesterday because I was headed up to Macon, and I went by Seven Brews and got something, and I
Mhm.
cut through that way to get
Yeah.
over there, and the garage door was open, and I was kind of looking. I said, well, maybe he or you were out, that kind of thing. But anyway, uh, I don't know what kind of artistic background he has, if any at all. I mean, my wife, uh, she might be able to. draw a stick figure, maybe, and she wouldn't get mad at me if I said that. But do you ask him to take a look at something? Say, hey, what do you think? A different perspective,
I
maybe.
will answer that in a second, but
Okay.
his creativity is the yard. He likes,
He's got a beautiful
yeah,
yard.
he likes getting out
Yeah,
there, playing, doing yard work,
beautiful yard. Yeah,
building stuff out there and trimming
yeah,
hedges. And he doesn't draw necessarily, but he's taken a bunch of those, like, like the ceramic Georgia Bulldog yard
yeah, yeah.
things. Like
Yeah,
he'll
I got
take
one.
them. He makes a whole project out of it. He paints them
Oh, that is so
because
cool.
they come just as
It's
cement.
just cement. Yeah,
And he'll get stencils and put a number on their jersey.
I love it.
So he does like to
Does he
paint.
sell them? Does he sell those?
No, he's done them
He
for
could
friends and himself.
he could do that,
Mhm.
but I like that because somebody may say, "Hey, I like Brock Bauer, and I want his
Yeah,
number on the jersey or
I
whatever,
think
who it was."
I
But
think
yeah,
we got a Brock
yeah,
Bauer Bulldog in our
okay,
front.
okay. But I have seen um, who was it that did this? I think it was up around Washington Park there in Macon.
Oh,
The
those
the bear, and
statues?
they just
Yeah,
painted all different kinda
yeah.
colors all over it,
In Athens, they have bulldogs like that.
Uh-huh,
Those
uh-huh.
shiny, I don't know what they're made out of, resin or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
should do those. He should get
Yeah,
funky
I
with
mean,
them.
just kind of just random colors pouring and
Yeah.
doing different stuff, trying different things, and then
Mhm.
you could kinda paint the jersey on it or something. I
Right.
don't know, I mean, just ideas, but yeah, I love that. That is so
So,
cool.
as far
Yeah.
as his, like, critiquing my art, he likes very realistic art,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
if I do anything that's weird, he's like,
He's like, I don't know about
I'll
that."
show him a picture, like, I did a piece where it was kind of a springtime image. It had a snake going through the middle, and there was a hare jumping over it, and a bird at the bottom, and a moon. So it wasn't
Okay.
abstract, but it wasn't, like a picture of the animals doing normal animal
Right,
things.
right, right.
So, like, the hare's kind of like jumping over the snake, and he's like, What's the rabbit doing? I'm like, it's
What's
not
going
doing
on there?
anything.
Yeah.
But if I do something realistic, it's usually like graphite, like a pencil. Like, I'll
Okay.
sit there and shade and try to get things right and make an image that looks like the picture, and
Mhm.
I can get pretty close. And he loves
Okay,
those. He's like, "Oh,
okay,
that's great."
good.
But some of
Yeah,
my paintings, he's like, "What are you
yeah,
doing?"
yeah, yeah, my wife, sometimes I'll ask her, I said, "Well, take a look at this, what do you think?" And she just sees things different, which is good, and I
Yeah,
like that, and it's like, "Well, I think you need to do something over here," and I says, "Well, you gotta okay, does it help the painting? Does it add some balance? Have I got some shapes not right? That kind of thing. And so, yeah, I like getting some feedback from her. Now, one of the, I think it's a good thing. What she does is, honey, it sure would be nice if we had a couple paintings of something like this that I could put over the couch. And so, I'm off doing some projects, and there's a
mhm.
lot of stuff in our home where she is saying, I think it's like, and yeah. And
And you
so I
paint it
guess
for
being
her?
married to an artist, it's like I don't need to go buy something at Hobby Lobby or at home or whatever. I'll just have Victor paint it. So yeah.
I think I would really like to try to do a mural in his office
Oh, wow.
and do like a whole Georgia Bulldog thing. And I've already told him I want to do it, but I just haven't made the design yet. So
That would be awesome.
I think
That
that would
would
be
be
fun
awesome.
because, like,
Yeah.
it's our house. Like, if I don't like it, I can just prime over it, you
Well,
know?
here's one of those 100-day projects for you.
Yes, that's a good
Think
idea.
about it, and starting and document it and post it
Mhm.
on social media because I would think you would have people kind of follow. They're waiting on, okay, what is she working on next? How's it
That's a good
going?
idea.
Here's a work in progress all the way up to the finished product. I'd love to see that.
And
So
I
yeah.
have a friend that I offered to do a mural for her son's bedroom, and, like, I just haven't sat down with the design, but he's, like, super into baseball, and he likes Star Wars, and I kinda started playing with the design, and got busy. But
Yeah.
I'd like to do that for him.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
That would be fun. That would be so cool. Yeah. Are there any artists that you like that kind of inspire you or that you admire? And
So and back to the original conversation we had about the like starting the art, the YouTube
mm-hmm,
rabbit holes.
mm-hmm. Right.
I like Sandy Hester on YouTube. She's a Nashville-based artist. She does a lot of I don't I don't know the name of it, like the style, but very loose. All her stuff is
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
loose. You can tell
Mm-hmm.
what the thing it's like, say, like a tablescape with a pitcher and fruit, but it's very loose. And I love how loose she can get it, but it looks so good. And but when I try to do
Right.
that, I'm like, what is that? But
Yeah.
I found her watching studio tour videos. I love
Okay.
watching people show their studios. Um,
Right.
so Sandy Hester, I feel like there was another one. I might have written it down. Allie Brown, she is a YouTuber who does more journaling and like planner.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
People get they go crazy with planning. So, but
Mm-hmm.
she also is an artist, and she's the one that got me started with the watercolor, like plopping is what she calls it. She just like
Really?
plops down color and then journals over time
Okay.
when it dries.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I consider her to be an artist. She sells prints and stuff like that. I really like
Okay.
her.
Okay.
And James Gurney, I've got a couple of his books, and I love watching his YouTube channels.
Well, you'll
And
have to email me the names of these folks. I want to check out, some of their YouTube stuff, and you can always learn from these people. And
yeah,
that's the thing. YouTube is wonderful.
oh,
I'm a self-taught artist. I mean, I've taken some art lessons and did some workshops and stuff like that. But yeah, it's wonderful. And and yeah, to be honest, uh, before I really kind of started painting, I and a lot of artists admit to this. I watched some Bob Ross stuff. Now he wasn't the best artist in the world, and he knew it and he admitted it. But he said, maybe I can inspire you to become an artist,
yeah.
and get better. And I feel like that's what he did for me. I tried some of his technique. I couldn't do it. I mean, I tried. I wasted so much paint, couldn't get the technique down. I said,
Yeah,
this is not for me. And I scrapped all that and I just went down a different path. But yeah, he motivated and inspired me to, you know, be what I'm doing
I have
today, I guess.
I have
Yeah.
a friend that watches him when she's anxious, like, he relaxes her, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
she just
That
watches it like she's
calm
trying to paint
voice,
it.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
trying to think, is there any other, like, instructional what's the name of that channel? Pro I think it's Proco TV on YouTube.
I hadn't seen
They
that.
they're more it's 2 guys, they're more like draftsmen. They do the figure and perspective. They get really into the drawing part,
Okay.
like getting your drawing right. And they have some really good tutorials on perspective and things like that. And they just sit there and talk and joke, and they're funny.
Oh,
They're
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you email me the others,
yeah.
email them too. I'll check that out as well. So yeah, that's cool. Um, have you done uh, like architecture buildings and things like that? And downtown, like in downtown Macon, there's so many wonderful restaurants and I love the architecture of downtown Macon.
I do too.
Yeah. Have you done some of that in buildings and
I know I've done some buildings in my sketchbooks. Like,
right,
I can't think offhand any particular ones, but I know I have.
right. Okay. Yeah, I've done a few. I did one. It was actually a plein air that Macon Arts Alliance sponsored last year, and I did a couple of them actually, and those are very challenging. There's something I've been thinking about doing is there's so many churches in downtown Macon. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I happened to be downtown doing something. I think up at Greenlight Gallery, and I took some time after I left there, and I just rode around and I started taking pictures of their steeples And I thought
Mhm.
about doing a little project of, maybe about a 8 by 16 or, 4 by 12 or something like that, more the portrait angle. Um, and just doing a bunch of the different church steeples,
That would be a
with
fun
some,
project.
maybe some little trees in the foreground and clouds in the background and stuff
Mhm.
like that. I thought, hey, that might be pretty cool. But anyway, yeah. What do you find most challenging as an artist? Everything.
Everything. I guess the confidence, maybe, I don't know
Hmm.
if that's the right word, but just not being sure of myself, my ability, the finished product. And I feel like if I could just wrap my mind around like who cares and
Yeah.
and really just go all out there, that my art would get better, because I hate it, but I'm always like, how's this going to turn out? Like if I could
Yeah.
just get past that, that's probably my biggest challenge. Just if I could fully relax into the process versus what is it going to look like when I'm done.
Right. Enjoy the process. Don't worry so much what the finished product's going to look like. Because I
And
think if you enjoy the process, it will turn out good.
exactly. And
Should.
who cares who likes it or what?
Yeah. It's what
Or
you wanted to paint.
yeah, and
Yeah.
who cares if I even like it at the end? It doesn't
But
matter.
yeah. Right. Right. I struggle sometimes of, okay, if I paint this, will somebody buy it or will it sell? And I've got to step back and say, no, just paint what you're passionate about.
Exactly.
And I probably got a card somewhere because I like little motivational things, and I'll
Mhm.
print it out and all that. And I think one of them said something about just paint what you're passionate about, and people will find you and they'll like your work. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, and they do, So you just have to. And um, are you selling some of your artwork, and are you in some shows or exhibitions right now?
I've submitted to
Okay,
some exhibits in Macon, and I've did the market in the fall in Perry, and
okay,
that's really it. Like, I don't know, I don't feel like I haven't I don't post stuff on like Instagram like for
right,
sale
yeah,
necessarily, but just a couple things, just a couple exhibits, and I've sold
okay,
a couple things out of Macon Arts, and the
hmm,
market did pretty well.
okay. Yeah, I'll have to learn a little bit more about the thing in the fall with Perry.
Unfortunately, they had a thing called Art in the Park.
Okay.
They're not doing it this year.
Oh, really?
Did
Well,
it.
just my
But
luck.
I
Yeah.
know, but I mean, Perry has a ton of festivals,
Oh,
and
they do. Yeah.
yeah, they sent out a couple. I have an email. I'll have to look at the dates, but there are still a couple festivals that they have that they're allowing art vendors at.
Okay.
But I decided not to, because I think they were all in the spring, and I just decided not to
Yeah.
try it
Yeah.
because that market was a lot to prepare for.
Yeah. There was, I don't know if I looked into their Dogwood Festival or something else, or Perry
Yeah,
Days or something. And it was like you had to fill out this application, and it was a $200 fee. And then you had to submit papers of
I don't
your tint and the layout and all this kind of
I
stuff. And
don't
I
know if
thought,
they had a
gosh,
fee.
that was a
I
lot.
don't I don't
So,
think Perry usually has a fee, and if they do, I think you might get it back when you show.
oh,
I
okay.
can find out for sure. I have
It's
a
kind of a
friend.
deposit. We'll hold it, and then if
Yeah,
you're
just
there,
because
we'll
they don't
get it
want
back to you.
yeah, they don't want
Gotcha.
people backing out.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. Um, so do you have a website
I
or
don't have a
just using
website,
social media? Okay.
just
Yeah.
using Instagram, and I've just started using Facebook for my art, I guess you could say. Like,
Okay.
I used to not share my art on Facebook because it's like I didn't want people that really knew me to see my stuff. But now I'm like, I don't care.
Put it out there. Yeah. Go,
Mhm.
girl. I have a website, and I've had one for about 4 years. And to be honest, I'm debating on whether I want to keep it because
Yeah.
I sold one painting, and that was last Christmas, and it was a small 6 by 6 gallery wrapped. I called it a Van Gogh Christmas, and it was kind of a starry night background with Christmas tree and presents in the front and all this kind of stuff. And somebody bought it, and I didn't have it listed for a whole lot, but then I said, well, I'll cover the shipping. Well, the shipping was like 30 something bucks. I only made about $6 off the painting once it's all said and done,
Yeah.
and I insured it. I mean, it was going across country to Washington State, And it's
Okay.
like, but I've sold more off of Facebook, word of mouth, Instagram, stuff like that. I
Yeah.
just say, hey, this is available. DM me if interested, blah, blah, blah. Because I don't want to put a price out there, because some people are like, ooh, that's too much, or, whatever.
Think
If they're
about doing
interested,
that.
contact
Just
me.
say it's
Yeah.
available.
Right. It's
I
available.
I haven't looked into it yet, but I know that there's a way to use, like, I don't know, Square, like the Square, um, like they have like a point of sale software that you can use,
Uh-huh.
like if you're at a, like say you're at a market and you sell your piece, you can
Right.
slide the card and use it.
Yeah.
I know that there's a way to basically like create an inventory in there and then link that to your Instagram
Oh, okay.
to where
Yeah.
you have like the Instagram shop. Have you seen other people with a shop?
I haven't seen that. Yeah. I'll have
Yeah,
to check
I'm
that out.
considering doing something like that just because, you
Gotcha.
paint all this stuff and it's all in my house and I'm like, what am I gonna do
Right.
with it?
Right.
But and that's another hard thing, like, speaking of selling art is the whole pricing idea.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know where to go with that because I feel like a lot of my stuff I'm still learning.
Right.
It's more like
Right.
practice, and it's like I don't wanna overprice it and it doesn't go anywhere, and I don't wanna
Right.
undersell it, and it's like
Exactly. Lose money, whatever.
$10
Hey,
not even
we could have a sidebar off camera discussion about that. So
yeah, I'm
I'll
really
just share
lost
with
on
you how I do it and that kind of thing. So,
and, like, when we went to Making Arts for that show we both went
mhm.
to, like, we're looking around and my husband was like, "You need to price your stuff more," and I was like, "But I don't."
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was just, like, a practice thing that
Well, yeah, you can look at it that way. And then too, you got to look at, okay, what's the split on the commission? 30, sometimes it's anywhere from 30 to
40,
40% that
60.
they're getting. And it's like, if I only charge $50 and I'm only getting 60% of that, yeah, I'm not making really that much money off of it. And people know that when they go in a gallery, uh, it's going to be more expensive,
Mhm.
in a gallery. Um, because I did a show back in September at Greenlight Gallery and had several pieces of art down there, and I sold quite a few.
Oh, wow.
And I was really really pleased with the first night because I sold about 3 or 4 paintings that first night, which was great. And
Yeah.
and it was fortunate for me because the owner helped me get the right price point
Okay.
too. And some gallery owners will help you with that as well. If you are putting it in a show or that kind of thing. And in fact, I got one coming up in July through September of this year down on St. Simon's. It's part of
Mhm.
the it's part of Glen Visual Arts that's there on St. Simon's, but they have a gallery in Hotel Simone, and so I was selected to show my work there. And they reminded me and says, okay, well, the gallery, Glen Visual Arts, getting 20%, the hotel's getting 20%, so I'll get the 60. So I need to price it enough to where, because here I'm in Warner Robins, I got to get stuff down to St. Simon's. Fortunately, my in-laws live in Jessup, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away from St. Simon. So, I could always go down there and stay if I needed to. But yeah, you gotta work all that out. But they're good. Most of them that I've dealt with are good about, yeah, I think you got this too high or too low, or yeah, you're spot on. So
Yeah, I have another friend that she does art and puts stuff in some exhibits, and we try to help each other with pricing a little bit, but we both
hmm
have the
hmm
exact same problem.
yeah, yeah.
So
We'll,
it's kind
we'll
of
we'll talk offline a little bit
like,
about
okay,
that. Yeah, it's challenging, as an
it is.
artist. So yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we've been talking almost 45 minutes. I know you've got kind of a tight schedule here, and you're probably using your lunch hour today. So I want to kind of give you a little time back, but I do want to thank you so much for being on my podcast today. It's just a pleasure to get to know you a little bit more. Hopefully, we can
Yeah.
talk in the future and maybe come and hang out. I like the little podcast you and your husband have started, kind of thing. I don't know if you want to put a plug in for that, which you can. Um, but anyway, yeah, it's just been a great opportunity. Thanks for sharing, a little bit about who you are and about your art journey. I've learned so much. There's great ideas that I can take from this. Is there a way that people can get in touch with you if they're interested in some of your art? Do you have an email? Do you have, on Facebook or, Instagram? How would somebody kind of reach out to you?
Probably Instagram. Do you want me to like send you the thing, or do you want
If
me
you would send me your Instagram, Facebook, and if you want your email, fine. Because when I upload this to YouTube, I'll put it in the show notes and say, hey, you can contact Kat at, and here it is, so that kind of thing. And but yeah, I'll be putting this out on Facebook and Instagram, just a short reel of that, as well as YouTube and also on Spotify. But thanks so much, Kat. It's been a pleasure talking with you and interviewing you today. And thanks everybody for tuning in and joining us on another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll check you guys later in the next episode. Take care, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.